Okay. I keep waiting for like perfect timing to do this. Oh, I can't please everybody. We're just gonna start. I wonder what will happen next. Believe. Alice in Wonderland, Crow Tarot. No need to fear. Of course, now the dog's inside. It's fine. So I found this book the other day. In this free book library, since like the book that keeps on giving, or like the gift that keeps on giving. Changed in the night, I guess we can talk about today. Who in the world are you? No need to fear, just believe. Okay, live in the now. Go with the flow. Today, being November 19th, marks Pluto's great transition into Aquarius, which is supposed to be something about enlightenment, freeing things up. Resolve, revolution comes to mind. But it's different this time. Because things are more in the flow. Oh, I also found Mystique of Enlightenment. What did I find in here before? Parking Pass. Expired Parking Pass. This book, by the way, also seems to have made it to, where was it? Area 51. And then here. The challenges, they are almost exclusively concerned with making life more easy, more comfortable, more pleasant. They tend to identify the good with what feels good and mistrust idealized values. Nostalgia comes up here too, or like looking backwards into things or getting caught up into things that aren't relative, or just people want to feel good all the time, and that's not the way it works. Not to get to who you want to figure out who you are. That doesn't make sense. In the lives of many people, this is what I wanted to find too, because Cultivating Purpose is coming up today. Waiting for my hair to dry, waiting for things to be like perfect. I'm waiting for waiting. Maybe we'll look at what waiting is too, because going with the flow means navigating. Okay, so we'll get back to Cultivating Purpose, and again, out of flow, the psychology of optimal experience. We'll have an optical. How are we going to have an optical? Why is optical illusion coming to mind? These filters are bizarre. Sorry, the color's weird. No, it's fine. Go here, because I want to jump around, and I want to get into lots of different subjects all at once. Fine, no need to fear. Remember how powerful we are. Okay. Curiouser and curiouser. There's so much to explore. We have the Alice in Wonderland card to go down, going down the rabbit hole, so to speak, in the realm of consciousness and cultivating consciousness. That's what all of this is about, right? We're a transformation guide to people going through big transformations. We'll get into the Crow Tarot too. That's kind of how we'll pull ourselves up out of this rabbit hole. I don't have very long today to talk. I have a tendency to like go on and on and on, so I'm going to try and like condense a lot of information all into one. So that's probably why I'm ping-ponging around too. If you do jump on and have questions, feel free to ask through the live stream. If not, you can contact me for private readings and whatever too, consultation stuff. That's what it is. In the lives of many people, it is possible to find a unifying purpose that justifies the things they do day in, day out. A goal, like a magnetic field, attracts their psychic energy, a goal upon which all lesser goals depend. North Star and guidance, too. We can look at what the North Star is and where you're going. This goal will define the challenges that a person needs to face in order to transform his or her life into a flow activity. Without such a purpose, even the best ordered consciousness lacks meaning, and anything can get into flow. I think that's why I talk a lot about creativity as well. Never jam today. That one is coming up again. Promises that never come to be, empty words, not living in the now. So we can talk what not living in the now looks like too, because nostalgia even came up. Getting caught up in past, present, or past, future variations. Flow, being in present time, being open to not having to be in control, but navigating things that are rather out of control. Investigate, but it's just being like one. It's just getting out of the ego is all it is. Figuring out the right way, learning to create what you desire, what we all desire. Be a leader also comes into play. Manage to be glad and grateful. But somebody also had told me, because like in this, like, okay, I'm grateful. Yes, there's a lot of difficulties and hardships, but yes, I'm grateful. Okay, can you be grateful for the lesser of two evils? Interesting how that could come into play. Let me see, is there anything else here? The goal will define the challenges that a person needs to face in order to transform his or her life into flow activities. So there are going to be challenges, yes, but just because there's challenges and they don't feel good doesn't mean it isn't good. Just with the same as just because it feels good doesn't mean it is good for you. Complacency, people getting complacent, looking for things to be comfortable when things just aren't comfortable. Things are rather uncomfortable. Going through these big shifts, but the awareness or the consciousness and the ability to sense things coming ahead is also valuable. I have a couple other books too. I have Becoming Deviant. I've been picking a couple of passages out of there, but I also have a couple of Sheldrake books. Dogs that know when their owners are coming home early, and the sense of being stared at. So we might pop into the sense of being stared at. But it's anticipation, and he's talking about morphic resonance, right? Morphic resonance field, or the ability to tap into things that are unknown. I opened up to many contemporary artists experiment with hallucinogens in the hope of creating work as mysteriously haunting as those verses of the Kubla Khan that Samuel Coleridge allegedly composed under the influence of laudanum. Sooner or later, however, they realize that with the composition of any work of art requires a sober mind, yes, clarity and connecting into things, consciousness, or altered states of mind through meditation, or just getting into that flow state. You can get into that flow state doing all kinds of things, running, cooking, reading, writing, anytime you're really engaged in the task. I want to say, what is it? Like 10 minutes, like I think for all the times that I've modeled for life drawing classes, right, they sit there really still for 25 minutes, right? How to not move, or how to get into the flow, or into this pace, I guess, where time and space kind of dissipate. Picking a spot on the wall, right, and then allowing things to kind of come into focus, because the brain, perceptions, neurology, you can trick your brain into naturally hallucinating. That's what the things outside of us are consciously are projections of this internal framework that we develop, right, that sets the tone for the world that we're living in. Whatever this cultivating co-creative consciousness thing is, that rabbit hole we're on. Work that is carried out under the influence of drugs lacks the complexity we expect from good art. It tends to be obvious and self-indulgent. This is knowing where to kick out the ego, because it's not your work, it's God's work. Where are you sourcing that information, and why, and how are you accessing it? But drugs can look like a lot of other things too, or just distractions even. Where are you sourcing and pulling in that information? A chemically altered consciousness may bring forth unusual images, thoughts, and feelings that later, when clarity returns, the artist can use. The danger is that in becoming dependent on chemicals for patterning the mind, he risks losing the ability to control it by himself. To stay in conscious control of things so other things don't come into play or work or mind, so like entities, so to speak. A moment's regret and nostalgia, idealizing the past, fearing you've made a mistake. Nonsense, it's time to talk sense. That one comes into play, right? Talking sense into things, making sense out of things, but there's always opportunities to explore these alternative ways of thinking. But again, what is the function? Why are you creating the thing that you are creating? Wonder what will happen next. That one is coming up again. Ready to adventure, precipice of change, pause before action. This is a number 2 card, which 2 numerologies I understand also represents negativity. So if you're on the positivity, or like that toxic positivity thing, look for the balance. It's not just 01001110011111110. Eventually we throw in a 2, right? We get multiple dimensionality, or like a glitch, so to speak. 2, I wonder what will happen next. She's contemplating writing. There's an aspect of waiting, but things that are also hidden. Star dogs are coming to mind. Or, I don't know, maybe it's going to be cold. Cold winter. Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank and having nothing to do. Once or twice she had peeked into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. And what is the use of the book, thought Alice, without pictures or conversations? I love these kind of books for these sort of things. It's a matter of perspective and how you're looking at the situation. A longing for excitement. Wonder at what is meant to take place next. Someone who is comfortable but vaguely dissatisfied. Be ready for a challenge and for new experiences. Things getting shaken up. It's just naturally going to happen as far as like collective aspects, but the reactions and responses to things and the moral variation, or the ideals and values are really going to come into play, I guess. Moment's regret keeps popping up, so we'll talk about that one more, because I think there's a lot of oh shit, did I do the right thing, did I do the wrong thing? Again, things not being perfect, or having to feel like things need to be perfect even though they're not. What was it? Things on the periphery, or the outskirts, coming into central focus, and things within central focus getting filtered out. As far as the influences for today, attachment to habits. Maybe that's why drugs and substances came up. I mean, sugar even. Sugars, technologies, with their habits. Again, distractions, things that, well, I mean, that's even somewhat of flow state too, because that repetition will help to get you into that flow state. So there's discerning, oh, is this good, is this bad? That relates to future, anticipation, past, nostalgia. We're just getting caught up again in distractions instead of being present and in the moment. Being present and being in the moment is difficult because there's so much information to consume at one time, and it's hard to know where to put that focus when our working memory. So there's working memory, short-term memory, long-term memory. If we're talking about the flow, we're talking about working memory. And there's been research that shows that we can attend to 4 things at a time within working memory out of the trillions and trillions of whatever stimuli that are around us at any given time. So if you can only attend to 4 things at a time within the vast amount, or like this like infinite amount of stimulus overload, right? Being in the flow and being in the moment, and being conscious is kind of important. So neural development or neuroplasticity is coming to mind too. Puzzles, being able to change in the night is still here. You have changed quickly. Quick changes and things coming up again, but we'll look at what nostalgia might be. Leadership in the right way. What do we need here? A lack of curiosity might be stopping to, or comfort over adventure. We're needing to do something different is going to be very important into getting that into that flow state. Because flow and complacency are very different, and there are a lot of people who are very comfortable because they perceive comfort to be good and discomfort to be bad. Whereas being in this space of discomfort, we can find the most access to creativity, innovative thinking, neuroplasticity, developments, changes, because things are going to be changing around us, whether or not we want them to. Stating your sovereignty, declaring freedom, passing a test. Maybe this is a collective test too. People are very caught up in this or that, red or blue, black or white, left or right, whatever, these different dynamics, forgetting that there's a third variable. Oddly enough, this is 3-3. I want to be a queen, right? Stating your sovereignty, declaring freedom. So having personal sovereignty from systems that no longer work, or breaking out of habits even. It's easy in terms of being open to flow and variation. Should we look at a moment? Let's look at a regret. That's 16. I'll read you a little passage from here. It was much pleasanter at home, thought poor Alice, when one wasn't always growing larger and smaller and being ordered about by mice and rabbits. I almost wish I hadn't gone down that rabbit hole, and yet, it's rather curious, this sort of life. I know nothing sort of a thing, being open to change. Radical acceptance comes to mind. That one came to mind earlier too. Radical acceptance and detached compassion. Things that can help get through difficulties, or these things where control feels like it's lost, or there's discomfort kind of at play. Second guessing your decisions too. You can make choices, but it's that lesser of 2 evil things. Or it just kind of takes me back to behaviorism and like people having choice, because ultimately what people are going to choose is going to be the most reinforcing of the lesser of 2 evils, and sometimes you don't really have much control over situations, and the choices that you're like forced to make are things that you have to do, and it happens. It's part of the flow. I told you I don't want to come out. No, but I'm supposed to be part of it, of course. Okay. Under our little timeline, Kismet on its own timeline, purpose, finding purpose in all of this. Berating yourself for the choices you have made, feeling regretful and missing what was, nostalgia of living in the past, a focus on what is going wrong or what could still go wrong. That's difficult because you need to be aware of the things that could happen. Hopeful kind of comes to mind too. Forging ahead without reflection and inability to marry the past, the present, and the future. So we have to talk about integrating things too, and bringing all these different parts and pieces together, which is why we're kind of spread out at the moment, and there's just so much going on, and there's a lot of different sources that we're pulling from to synthesize some information that could be valuable in terms of how to be more conscientious of the creative choices that you're making and how you're going forward and doing things in life. No thinking back. That's not being within the flow. It's kind of trying to stay upstream. Or not allowing yourself to go over the waterfall, because that one was given to me too the other day. Just random. random people reaching out with information and stories to be told, I suppose. So we'll bring it into the coffee with Kelsey space. There's just so much going on. There's so many different parts and pieces, moving parts and pieces to navigate. And so the irony of going with the flow is also being able to be still in the midst of all the chaos and allow the things to come and go as they need to be. A lack of attachment to what was, detached compassion, right? Having compassion for the things around you, but not getting caught up in this unconditional love thing where you have to, it was one of the first cards that I looked into in opening this, trying to people please and not doing things perfect. It's like opening up into the space and then just going with it and going with the flow instead of waiting for the perfect time or waiting for things to have to be a certain way in order to do it. There's like chaos kind of breaking out within this. I don't know if this is like a hair dryer or some sort of what do you want to call it? Fireman? Like fire truck comes to mind, fire hose, but putting out fires to please others. I mean, things can't just be ideal and perfect all the time. We don't live in a utopia. We're very distracted by these illusions and blue lights or these pacifying ingredients even that neutralize everything and want to assimilate or help things assimilate into like a culture or something. But hey, it's a lot to keep up with. That's just so much to maintain all the time. Eventually these natural forces come into play and then shifts happen. Things just happen. Okay, so back to the story then. The old man walking along the river. Thank you for this one. And he gets caught up in this like furious flowing river, and they get swept away, and the onlookers are watching and they're like, oh my god, are they gonna be okay? And he's going down this big giant waterfall, and to everyone's amazement he just pops back up onto this rock and he's like, and he's got this big smile on his face, and it's like, alright, cool, got to the bottom of the river faster or something. Like, how did you do that? And his whole thing is, well, went with the flow, kind of became one with the water, and just, there's no sense in struggling or trying to fight things or trying to, our bodies are mostly water. We're very adaptable in that sort of a way. The refusal to remember, that's suppression, or a lack of attachment to once was, that's denial. Seeing nostalgia as sentimental and foolish. History can be one of our best teachers. That's accountability as well, acknowledging the things that have happened for what they are in a space of non-judgment. That's really important. A focus on the future and lack of appreciation for what was good about the past. That's greed, being greedy and wanting more. That's ego. Maybe we'll come back to changed in the night. We'll go back into this flow thing here and open the crows. Okay, we'll just keep going with this pace. It's a little quick and it's kind of a lot to take in this morning, but that's okay. Afternoon, morning. We used to get this in the morning, but maybe people will be watching this more so in the morning than they will be this afternoon. Going into this kind of crow energy too. We're going to focus our energy, these crows, how we're going to direct this. So, there's some kind of water in that space too. Loving wisdom. The flow of thought is the chapter. Loving wisdom is part of the passage. Amateurs and professionals comes into play. The challenge of lifelong learning. Work is flow comes next, but the flow of thought. It's and where we are at today, but this is all flowing into work. Thoughts become things, right? Loving wisdom. Philosophy used to mean love of wisdom, and people devoted their lives to it for that reason. Nowadays, professional philosophers would be embarrassed to acknowledge so naive a conception of their craft. Today, a philosopher may be a specialist in deconstructionism or logical positivism. Positivism, an expert in early Kant or late Hegel, an epistemologicalist, or an existentialist, but don't bother him with wisdom. What is wisdom? What kind of wisdom comes out of the midst of this too? Ace of Swords and knowledge, so it's getting to the sword of truth, right? What is, it's all about truth. The truth part of it and the being authentic part of it is more important than the, like, being perfect and, like, people-pleasing part of it. Because so many people want to fall into that people-pleasing and the perfection and all of that, but the authenticity leads us to the enlightenment and the emotional fulfillment and the mastery of our words, the mastery of our communication. Even most of our communication is nonverbal, so everything that we do to convey to those senses, really, we have various senses, multiple senses. Always tea time seems to always come up in this space, which I think is kind of funny. Amateur philosophers, unlike their professional counterparts at universities, need not worry about historical struggles for prominence among competing schools, the politics of journals, and the personal jealousies of scholars. They can keep their minds on the basic questions. This is like just not getting caught up in a lot of that judgmental stuff, the emotional stuff. I mean, because in one field or another, it's cliquey or conglomerate, or has a tendency to be the little crab buckets, or be these little containers that are refusing to integrate all their other experiences, because they get swept up in this idea of competition, and they get swept up in this idea of being contentious, or wanting to argue, or wanting to fight, or wanting to create these things that are pretty difficult. But if we look at, I opened it right to swords, Ace of Swords brings a dynamic, raw energy, and for those who have the mental and physical strength, it offers a power that will quickly break through any barrier. So being able to get through these limiting belief systems, because sometimes you don't know until you go through the experience of it all. Justice comes into play as well. Finding that balance. Doing the just thing, doing what's right is very important. Because I think people have a lot of decisions to make, or things are going to, if we're talking about going with the flow and trying to figure out what the optimal experience is, what is just for one is just for all. What's in the highest good of all, and approaching things from that perspective instead of, well, what can I get out of it? How can I benefit the most from this situation? That's not what this is about. This is putting into, investing into containers, energetic containers, even attention awareness, because we only have 4 of those attention particles, perhaps, to put out there in the midst of the trillions of things going on at any given point in time. Then synthesize comes to mind, like synesthesia even, or being able to integrate things from differing perspectives is going to make this shift a lot easier. It's that Pluto into Aquarian thing. Oh, it's regret, but you're doubting yourself again. Doubting yourself, maybe having a hard time keeping up, because keeping up is here too. There's immense effort, there's advance, so we can look at that one too. I mean, it's hard to be happy and glad through the whole thing, but you don't need to worry about it. We're becoming braver. I kind of like that. forget who you are or who you think you are. We are becoming braver. We are advancing and moving forward through these things. Oh, you're scared. The mortality card is there. Life is brief, bright, beautiful, and yours to live. Do with it what you can. Like, you're given this one opportunity and this one life and this one awareness and being conscious of all these things that are going on at any given point in time, and you're aware of a much larger global system, and things are shifting and changing, and you're being called to act again. Have no fear. This one keeps coming up too. Remember how powerful you are. Homo luminous or bust, baby. This is evolution at its finest. And this plays out in a lot of different storylines. I don't know, I mean, even from the cards to the books to the Bibles to there's just all these allegories really about how this plays out. This Ace of Swords energy offers power that will quickly break through any barrier, getting through limited belief systems to overcome these challenges. Creative consciousness, hello. It's kind of simple, but collectively it works better if people are kind of thinking from this lens, so there isn't this destitute ideology or escapism or this projectionism that has chaos and fear riddled into it. I mean, there's no need to play into that. It's just what you're fed through all these various media lenses. So you have to cut through all of those ties and be able to focus on this kind of stuff. The Ace of Swords card represents a time of ideas, problem solving, and quick-mindedness. Whether you are arguing for a cause or answering questions during a job interview, you will feel prepared to articulate your position with passion and purpose if you can be authentic. This is telling the truth, right? If you're not trying to people please and hide, or trying to lie, or trying to present some sort of false facade or something, I mean, there's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to try and remember or whatever, or to try to have to recall. The truth is the truth is the truth, because you're in the moment of the flow. A lack of vision helps to prevent things from happening. The autotelic self, a summary. We've seen it demonstrated repeatedly that outside forces do not determine whether adversity will be able to be turned into enjoyment. A person who is healthy, rich, strong, and powerful has no greater odds of being in control of his consciousness than one who is sickly, poor, weak, and depressed. I think that is a really important point to make within all of this, and that shift in awareness and what judgment is. Use your time well. We're becoming braver. It's like, how do you be happiest at the end of the day? And we have the capacity to heal ourselves, follow the white rabbit. Curiosity meets opportunity. We can, it's always tea time, eternity, endless moments, repetition. We're just going to keep repeating this idea and repeating this philosophy until it sticks, until people get it and becomes habitual. Make every moment count. That's every moment of being in the flow and not getting caught up in all these other things. Time is flexible. Our consciousness is flexible, and it's able to absorb resilience, experience, growing stronger, fresh perspective. I don't know what else. The difference between someone who enjoys life and someone who is overwhelmed by it is a product of a combination of such external factors and the way a person has come to interpret them. That is, whether he sees challenges as threats or as opportunities for action. It's like being in fight or flight mode while having these hopeful outlooks, or versus having all the creature comforts and necessities that you need, but going through some sort of this is like I don't want to call it midlife crisis, but some sort of like identity crisis or something. Fearing a loss of materialism because your identity is very caught up in that. This goes into listing things. Number one, as far as the autoteltic self, is the one that easily translates potential threats into enjoyable challenges and therefore maintains its inner harmony. The alchemist, right? So, like, how are you shifting that perspective? Number one is setting goals. Goal setting popped up earlier. I think, like, as soon as we open this up, is like, what are the goals? What is it that you're trying to achieve? Which in some regard is future thinking based on what we have learned in the past, but being able to integrate it now into the present moment to stay in the flow, just this overall consciousness of awareness of not being limited by time constraints. The autoteltic self transforms potentially entropic experience into flow. So this is how we're healing ourselves, right? Therefore, the rules of development being such a self are simple and they derive directly from the flow model. So setting goals, blah, 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 becoming immersed in the activity, blah, 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 blah. I mean, that's whatever it is. That's like whether it's doing the dishes or mowing the lawn or taking out the trash or driving the car or listening to the music or painting the things or making the things or inventing the whatever. You get it. Number three, paying attention to what is happening. Again, you have these 4 attention particles within working memory, and the working memory puts things into short-term memory. Short-term memory is how we kind of base these judgments, within these moments to condition ourselves where kind of choice lives. And then we go into long-term memory, which is this programming, right? This is the muscle memory. This is the instinctual stuff that just kind of plays out there. So if we're talking about the flow in present time, we're talking about working memory and these limited attention particles. So where are you? What are you paying attention to? What are you conscious of? Number 4, learning to enjoy immediate experience. What's that alchemizing or that synthesizing any discomfort into an opportunity, when understanding is an opportunity for growth and change. Mortality comes up again. Maybe there's something here in mortality for us. Mortality, ironically, funny enough, is 42, the meaning of life. The meaning of life is mortality in this rabbit hole book. Life is brief and bright, beautiful, yours to live. If that there king was to wake at a Tweedledum, you'd go out bang, just like a candle. I should have Delix explained indignantly. Appreciation of existence. Just the fact that you can even be alive and sense and be aware and have all this, and it's quite miraculous, isn't it? In the greater scheme of things, regarding quantum mechanics and these greater global ideologies and so on and so forth. I mean, just the phenomena. It's pretty phenomenal, right? We take a lot of things for granted, but we shouldn't. Which is why we can be grateful. What were we being grateful for in regards to the lesser of evils, so to speak? But being grateful, keeping your North Star and eye on God, light, brightness, getting out of that, right? Away from the entropic into the creative realm. Relishing being alive, making the most of every moment, accepting mortality in ourselves and in others, living in the present, feeling joy at being alive. Radical acceptance and detached compassion. Here we are, great, fantastic. You can look back on your life and your experiences and where you're at now. Could you, die now and feel like your legacy lives on, so to speak? Do you have that immortal sensation within you? The Lovers, loss of love, and the Magician uniting these different forces and these various forces. opening your mind up to the possibilities of all the things that can happen. Good things will come, right? Patience pays, wait, consolidate, concentrate, just be you. Things will come through the authentication of things and through this transmutation of energy, and it all comes up as justice through here in this, fulfillment. Maybe we can look at what this one is, but it takes a tower and a crumpling of systems to come into play and getting rid of things that no longer serve us. It's winter time. Harvesting is kind of important, getting back into touch with helping, healing, growing things, spring, summertime, things that will come for the future. It's all cyclical. Believe that this life has less value than other possible lives, wasting time procrastinating or stagnating, waiting for heaven, again, waiting for things to be perfect. It's just not. Heaven is a place on earth. Believing life is more a curse than a blessing, a burden to be carried, refusing to believe in your own mortality, denial of death's presence within life, living as though life is forever. It's not. Don't drink the poison. Do not do things you know are bad for you. If it's bad for you, it's probably bad for everyone else too, and that's not what cultivating conscious co-creative community was all about, now is it, folks? Follow your own good advice, okay, and it can be very momentarily nonsense. It's time to talk sense. Okay, we can look at what that one is too. Let me see if there's anything that comes up with, what are you, 6 cups? The crow returns to the place of his youth in search of finding his inner fledgling. This is like creative inner child work, going back to the source of early childhood trauma, 1 through 7, birth through 7, internal in the womb gestation through year 7, that first 7-year cycle, going back into that and recapitulating healing modalities, sourcing back power, doing the shadow work, doing the stuff that's difficult and just doing work, toil and labor. It's not bad, but the good feelings come in the blooming and the blossoming and the evolution and the growth, because it's a collective growth period. He stands in a field of cups, filling his heart with healing memories of a time that was less complicated. It's that nostalgia thing kind of coming forward again, right? If you have been feeling overburdened with day-to-day responsibilities, the 6 of Cups brings the message to take a break and remember a moment in time when you felt free just to enjoy life. Whether it's a trip to your hometown or maybe a favorite vacation spot, it's time to recharge your spirit. It could be literal for a lot of you. Recharging our spirit, because things have just been break that spirit, and we are healing and mending that spirit now. Are you clinging too much to the past and aren't able to find joy in the present life? Is that what all this is? People want to get into just this dark stuff, and it's difficult, sure. We have to let go of a lot of things once we're so much greater. But there's that stinking justice card, and it's all about the greater good and finding balance and harmony for all. It's just going to take a moment. We're going to wade through the essence. Magician card is here too, so it's not impossible. But it is winter and it's cyclical, and so we're made to overcome adversity. We evolve through adversity and through these challenges. It's what has made us what we are today. So we can honor that. The queen turned crimson with fury, and after glaring at her for a moment like a wild beast, began screaming, "Off with her head! Off with..." "Nonsense," said Alice very loudly and decidedly, and the queen was silent. That's that truth thing. When we're speaking the truth and we're being direct and we're being very clear and we're telling people the honest truth when they've been trying to avoid that or hide that or don't want to look at the truth and just want people please and be in this blah 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 land, they're gonna get really mad and get really upset when you cut through that veil and try to help them shift through that illusion. People have a hard time with resistance and letting go of these things. It's like they get very attached to things emotionally. So we have to be braver. So bravery comes up because courageously standing up for yourself when someone is behaving in a way that is silly and unfair, especially when things have been very oppressive, and being able to stand in that energy and deal with the discomfort of people's BS. Just because you want to be nice isn't going to get you very far, especially when other people are negatively affected by stuff. I gotta start wrapping this up because I gotta go get my little guy here in just a minute. Refusing to be cowed, pointing out a person's bad behavior, not backing down on the truth, looking someone in the eye, being very brave, strong, and no longer intimidated, surprising yourself with your power, with your authenticity. That's where you're going to see these big changes and things happen. It's just calling out the bullshit. And not tolerating things that aren't okay anymore. I don't want to go into the rest of it. Believing you cannot be brave without being aggressive. You can be assertive, and it's going to make people uncomfortable, but just because people react to your assertive nature doesn't mean that you're being aggressive. Impossible things, working through disbelief, imaginative leaps, fresh perspectives, offering it up as that, and knowing that your fresh perspectives are going to make people uncomfortable or whatever, but it's justice. So being able to sit in that energy of love and compassion is really important, because this isn't about fighting, this isn't about whatever, but being able to acknowledge people's BS is really important, especially when you can tell that their blindedness and decisions are informing, or their, just say their biases are informing their decisions and how they're materializing things. The Wheel of Fortune. Let's take a chance on this Mystic of Enlightenment, and then I do have to close it off, and maybe we'll get into like the sense of being stared at and on the other videos or something like that, because this feels kind of awkward and strange. There's just visitors going into this like, oh my god, I'm being looked at. Sometimes I get that feeling and sometimes I don't, but I feel like that might be a reason why some people are hesitant when it comes to putting in questions as well, because there's being seen and people are trying to cover up errors instead of being honest and authentic. So let's talk about painting the roses red, because this card hasn't really come up before, and the theme came up last time. Keep your temper, don't allow anger to rule you. That's not being assertive. I mean, you can be assertive and be grounded and balanced and all of that. But people want to provoke and provoke and provoke and provoke and provoke until they get an angry reaction, and they can use that and be like, oh, I see you, la la la. And yeah, we're not doing that anymore. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. Okay, I gotta put the flow away for today. What are we going to find out of this one? We'll do a quick one. What is life? I'm convinced that in our meeting, it is not the words that are important, but that there is something beyond the words, right? Because the majority of our communication is nonverbal. I know there's a lot of words coming out in this, but there's a fluidity or fluency that helps to engage the flow. So thank you for participating in this space and getting involved and putting your energy in. I think that's really important. Do not drink the poison, though. If you drink too much from a bottle marked with poison, it's almost certain to disagree with you sooner or later. Avoid toxic situations, people, or relationships. It's not participating in things that aren't good for you. Why? They just avoid it, right? We just stay out of things that Do not partake in what you know is not best for you, ending in harmful relationships, changing toxic habits, or improving your nutrition and health regime. But clean out from your home and a pantry of substances, foods, even fabrics that can poison your personal environment, changing unhealthy, harmful thoughts and beliefs about yourself, and refusing to speak ill of others. Very important, because in that crap bucket, a lot of people want to point fingers, or again try to instigate to get certain reactions, or to try to paint certain pictures. So we'll go back into the painting the roses after this for sure. Changing unhealthy, harmful thoughts and beliefs about yourself, and refusing to speak ill of others. Choosing to encourage, support, and lead through kindness and strength. So doing the right thing, right? You will never know what life is. Nobody can say anything about life. You can give definitions, but those definitions have no meaning. You can theorize about life, but that is a thing that is not of any value to you. This just goes into this idea of, like, in the realm of consciousness and science, you don't know. But here we are having this great grand experience where we lack the words and the abilities to really communicate and convey a lot of these things, although we use the arts and these creative tools to convey things from this, like, morphic resonance field, to innovate solutions that help us to engage or integrate with Mother Earth in this natural cycle. Well, there's a lot of info in this one. I'm just doing my best to be mindful of my time, of course. Okay, again, I can go on and on and on and on. But these time constraints are kind of nice because they're helping me to just go with the flow. Okay, there's no time to paint any roses here, right? Painting the roses red, covering up the errors. Would you tell me, please, said Alice, a little timidly, why are you painting those roses? 5 and 7 said nothing, but looked at 2. Interesting, because we talked about 2. That was one of the first cards that came out, was the number 2. Number 2 again being, I can tell you, I wonder what would happen next. Okay, representations, metaphors, synchronizations. Okay, but looked at 2. 2 began in a low voice. Why, the fact is, you see, miss, this here ought to have been a red rose tree, and we put a white one in by mistake. And if the queen was to find it out, we should all have our heads cut off, you know. Not wanting to take accountability for their actions, right? Because they're trying too hard to people please and uphold this system that is not benefiting all, but only benefiting some. Painting the roses red. Red also representing material things, passion, blood, even grounding, taking us away from our crown, or that all-encompassing bright white light of things beyond. Yada 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 yada. Working for or being in a relationship with someone who is harsh on those who make mistakes. Ooh, that's tough too. Feeling forced to cover up errors to avoid punishment. Fear of mistakes being discovered. Hiding the evidence as the consequences are much harsher than the mistake. Feeling that what you need to do to stay safe is no longer reasonable. This is people trying to punish you for not being perfect too. That's kind of scary. That makes it very difficult to get out of situations where I don't know. Oof. Safety keeps coming up, safe spaces. Maybe that's something that we can look at too next time, the sense of being stared at and safety. Maybe I'll leave this bookmarked and then we can come back to it on the next one. Hopefully I can get to this tomorrow a little bit earlier. I'll shoot for it. The other side of it, refusing to hide mistakes or errors, taking on a punishment that is too harsh, refusing to change something that is perfect just as it is, encouraging others to stand together, no longer fearing an oppressive societal expectation or a tyrannical person. Accountability, truth, the sword of truth, figuring out what this justice thing is. It's just standing up to the bullies and doing things that are right. That is so important right now. And again, it just lines up with this whole Pluto getting out of whatever its current sign and going into Aquarius. And this like revolutionary kind of sense of going about things. I'm gonna pull one out of the artist's art oracle for my artsy friends out there who jump on this. Oh, my shirt is actually a dress. I have it knotted. Thank you. I love this pattern, and it's worn, and it's long sleeve, and it's awkward, and it's got like fun tie stuff in the back. Feels very retro. But thank you all for jumping in on this space. If you feel like giving donations, check out my free unicorn thing. I'm trying to reach a lot of goals, and I'm trying to, synthesize and put a lot of different things and projects together right now, and you can use as much help as I can get, and I have a hard time asking for it. Logic should come from the heart. True simplicity takes a lot of concentration. Find utopia in a straight line, go with the flow, right? And it's just part of it. But everything has to be aligned. The chakras have to be aligned. And it's interesting to me that these two popped out and they're kind of juxtaposed with each other. And here she is again. I mean, every time I pull this out, it feels like lately, Louise, here she is. You can go back to the other ones too. Remember through art, remembering through art is better than forgetting, because we can't forget, but it needs to be synthesized, processed, and inference is worth 1,000 appendages. Draw on private pain to connect with the public. Okay, that validation just keeps coming up. But this ability to balance and juxtapose the straight lines with the like chaotic lines. What Pollock is Pollock. Meaning doesn't come with titles. If fame finds you, keep working in spite of it. Chaos is handmade. I mean, you just keep swimming, you just keep going, and you just be humble, and you do the right thing, and this whole, pretense of fame, fortune, all of that, and it's kind of beside the point. It's a distraction. It's not a North Star and something to guide for and strive through. Strive to design your days, don't plan them. Aspire to profound practicality. Be unbending in your flexibility. Charles and Ray Eames. We'll come back to these next time too. I do need to get running. But it is balance between the masculine and these feminine energies, and being honest when it comes and synthesize things, harmonize, bring things together. So that's cool. Thank you. I might have Axe come on here later. He hasn't been feeling so great the last few days, so I don't know. I don't feel super up to par, but we just keep going, we just keep flowing, and doing the right things. It's important too. Again, reach out if you want private readings or anything like that. Thank you all very much. I love you, and I'll see you soon. Bye.